Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast is number 614. The topic is nutrition, and the title is The Effects of Caffeine-Fueled Fasted Workouts. So, first of all, before we get into this, I always like interrupting it right away because it's probably really annoying. But I want to make a note of thanking the people more often who are the patrons to the podcast, and people who like the podcast, who share the podcast, people who interact with emails. Everything is super duper freaking awesome, and I love when everybody gets involved because it just gives me a better idea that this is actually helpful to people. So that always just makes me feel good. So thank you for that. And I hope that I can return the favor by giving information that's important for y'all, and you help find it helpful. So thank you to the patrons, the people who support the podcast financially. That's extremely, extremely helpful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everybody who emails in, shares, comments, all that good stuff. Okay, so now that I got the thank yous out of the way, let's get to the good information. Okay, so we've talked in past podcasts and a couple recent ones about the negative effects of activity without proper fueling. So it doesn't have to be necessarily a workout. So we talked about in general in a podcast recently about don't skip breakfast, and how a client had been told by someone else that if they skip breakfast, that would help them lose body fat. And the idea behind it would be is it reduces calories. However, that's a really stupid process and a stupid way of doing it, in the sense that it causes a lot of negative impact. So there are better ways to control calories to create a deficit that leads to fat loss without negative effects. So what those negative effects were, we discussed in that podcast. We're actually going to discuss today, and how we can kind of do a better job. Ooh, sorry about that. My phone that films everything for YouTube just fell. So sorry about that loud noise. I'm going to set that back up. By the way, our podcasts are on YouTube, so if you ever want to check those out. But what we're going to get into today is talking about what those negative effects are of doing activity without being properly fueled. Why it's a bad thing, why it has kind of like long-term negative consequences, what those are, and what we can do about it. Okay, so I might have repeated myself partly there, but I got kind of thrown off. So hopefully you're still with me. Okay, so in general, when we do activity, especially a workout, and that's essentially what we're going to kind of look for, because this topic was requested by someone, is specifically caffeine-fueled fasted workouts. So a fasted workout means they're working out without food. So they would either get up or they would have an intermittent fasting period, but at some point in time they start the exercise knowing that they don't have fuel in them in regards to food. So there has been people in the past have said that it helps with fat loss, and they're right. If you do work out without food in you, it does help you lose fat, but it has an enormous amount of negative consequences. And long term, actually, it makes fat loss even harder. So it's not the right way to lose fat. There are a million better ways to lose fat than to do fasted workouts. So I used to do fasted cardio myself whenever this was all the rage in the bodybuilding world. I figured out it was pretty stupid right away. I actually assumed it was going to be stupid because it didn't make sense with the way the body works in regards to what the needs of food is in the body and what its role is. So we need food every day and every minute of the day just to be alive and do normal processes. So if you don't even fuel that and then you try to work out on top of that, oh my God, that just sounds so stupid. It sounds more horrible. So we've talked about in a past podcast where we talked about proper nutrition for sedentary workers, which is podcast 390, by the way. We broke down the sciencey type stuff of how many calories you burn while at rest, even doing nothing. And it's about 70% of your daily needs. So you need about 70% of your normal calories just to stay alive and be fine. Then from that still allows a deficit that promotes fat loss, but it doesn't underfuel regular kind of body processes, such as repair and, running the organs, fixing and doing things all throughout the day. Like at all times, our body needs calories. And if we exercise, it needs the normal calories it normally needs, plus the calories for the exercise. You don't need all of that gone as the deficit to create fat loss. So you only need some deficit, and it's actually better to only have a controlled amount of deficit rather than all of the deficit possible, which causes a bunch of negative responses. So in podcast 426, we actually talk about why eating less isn't good for fat loss. You can actually eat too little which actually prevents fat loss long term and actually causes more fat gain in the long term because it negatively impacts your basal metabolic rate, your resting metabolism. Okay, so that's the idea of what we're looking at is if I do a workout without eating ahead of time and I just take a bunch of caffeine as my energy source rather than actual food, is that bad and why? So the answer is hell yeah, it's bad. Don't do that. And the why is that doing so, when we're super active without proper fueling, it causes an increase in cortisol, which is like a stress hormone, and that signals the body to do a lot of things that we don't want. So it starts to reduce like what would be considered non-essential processes to conserve energy. So if it knows that you're outputting energy and it goes, holy crap, we do not have the reserves for this. Like, we don't have what we need to fuel this. What are you doing? Okay, let's hurry up and shut down anything that we don't think is necessary right now. So that starts lowering the metabolism. That actually starts to reduce how many calories you're burning. So you're actually kind of shooting yourself in the foot as that starts to happen, meaning you're actually getting less and less progress. And while the body is like high in cortisol, while it's stressed, it actually reduces the body's willingness to expend calories towards muscle tissue repair or any kind of connective tissue repair, any kind of repair at all, really. So if we did a workout and we slightly strained some connective tissue, our body's not going to fix that as well if we were in a fasted, high cortisol, high stressed state. And that causes accumulation of acute injuries, which over time can bleed into big injuries because we're underfed and our body is too stressed to try to expend calories to fix that stuff. We also don't build as much muscle tissue as we want. So if you're a bodybuilder and you're doing fasted caffeine-based workouts, oh my gosh, holy cow, are you shooting yourself in the foot? Horrible, horrible, horrible approach. Horrible, okay? So that's one negative aspect is the reduction of non-essential processes. The other thing we have is it signals a release of like adrenaline and a kind of a sense of need for emergency energy. Meaning the body goes, oh my gosh, I have to do anything I can do right now to create energy because I don't have any from the food I'm supposed to be eating right now. So let me just dump adrenaline, let me dump off everything I can. And does it start breaking down fat, body fat? Yes, but that's a slow process. So the body needs to fuel it with something fast now. And it does that with adrenaline, cortisol, and some other, there's a bunch of processes to everything. But what that causes, that need for emergency energy, it actually increases the body's belief that body fat is necessary. That's what body fat is. It's stored calories in case we ever need them. Well, if you chronically need them, if you dip into them every damn day, the body's going to fight to replace them. So your body, anytime it gets any surplus of calories, if that's in the meal after the workout, if that's in the meal later in the day, if that's in a meal before you go to bed at night, any surplus of calories above what it needs at that very moment, it'll store as body fat because it felt the body fat was extremely important to try to survive the fasted caffeine-based workouts. Whereas if you fuel yourself properly with a small deficit, you get fat loss, but you don't get that emergency energy feeling, that high stress, high anxiety type feeling in the body. Okay? Speaking of anxiety, working out in fasted states that cause increase in cortisol, that can lead to energy crashes, strong cravings. It's like, so when people say like, I have a sweet tooth that's out of control, it's because you probably eat like a jackass and you probably have huge deficits of calories when you only want a small maintainable deficit throughout the day, not big crashes and big deficits. And it also can cause sleep issues, and that compounds with the effect of caffeine on sleep. And all of that can lead to the body just feeling ridiculously overrun, under-recovered, overstressed, and that can lead to a sense of anxiety. So, if we work out fasted, it causes extreme stress in our body. It causes cortisol release. It causes overall kind of negative response in the body, a panic response. Like we said, that causes a reduction of basal metabolic rate, base metabolism, because the body is trying to shut down non-essential processes. It also lessens the body's ability to recover from the workout because it still doesn't feel like it's in a safe enough place to expend the calories towards recovery. It signals the release of emergency energy, which increases the body's belief that body fat is necessary. And it can lead, like we said, to energy crashes, strong cravings, sleep issues, and an overall increase of sense of anxiety. None of that is good. Okay? Now, we think, Okay, well, at least I'm getting fat loss. That doesn't sound like a fair trade, okay? You are getting temporary fat loss. But like we said, this leads to the increase of need for the body to store body fat. So in the long run, your body's going to fight against you, fight against you, fight against you. You'll eventually plateau and you won't be able to lose any more fat. Then, at the calories you're eating at that point become your required amount to maintain, that actually is a lowered metabolism. Meaning, you might diet all the way down to 1,400 or even 1,200 calories, and then when you want to go back up to 1,600, all of a sudden you see yourself getting fat. And you're like, oh my gosh, I used to be able to eat this much, and I never got fat. It's because you just destroyed your metabolism by doing the fasted workouts. So, all of this stuff is bad. But if we want fat loss, do we have to take this stuff with it? Hell no. No, 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 no. So, our goal would be instead to feed ourselves ahead of the activity. We just don't quite feed ourselves enough. We want to put in food ahead of time, but food that's barely what we need. So we talked about in that sedentary worker podcast that 70% of our daily need is just to cover basal metabolic rate normal processes. Then we have like general activity of us being around, shaking our legs, talking to people, answering the phone. That roughly equates to about 10%. So you have an 80 to 100% window. So that last 20% of calories that you need, that's the deficit you want to be in. So if you know how many calories you normally eat before a workout, only eat 80% of those calories, but eat it before the workout. You'll still have a small deficit. You'll still get promotion of fat loss, but you won't get the reduction of non-essential processes. You won't get the release of like emergency energy, causing the belief that body fat is necessary, and you won't get the energy crash, the strong cravings, the sleep issues, and you won't have the increase in anxiety. That sounds much better. We get the fat loss, but we don't get all that shit that comes with it. Okay? So that's what we want to do, is we want to fuel ourselves ahead of the activity. We just don't quite fuel ourselves enough. Now, why does caffeine make this worse? So we already know fasted workouts are not beneficial, not good. They're not the best way of achieving fat loss. Then when you add caffeine on top of that, it gets so much worse. So typically when we're underfed to do an activity, our body sends us a signal that says, I don't really feel like doing this, I'm tired. And we say, yeah, but I need you to do this, I kind of want to do this. And he goes, I don't really want to do it. And then we're like, ugh. And then we have trouble getting ourselves motivated to do it. That's the body telling us that we are not prepared. We haven't slept well, probably. We probably ate like shit or inconsistently. And maybe we don't want to do the thing we're about to do. So the body's telling you, I don't really want to do this. So instead of listening to the body, instead of sleeping better, instead of eating better, we just pour caffeine in our face and say, screw you. Screw you, body, you're doing it anyhow. The caffeine gets in our system, it energizes us. All of a sudden we have all these fake feelings of energy. And we crush the workout. Our body still underlyingly says, oh shit, I wasn't ready for this. I didn't want to do this. We were not prepared. I have nothing that I need to do this with. But we don't hear that voice because we covered over it with caffeine. So the fact that we kind of force our body through the workout causes all the stress we talked about with fasted workouts. And the fact that we use caffeine masks those effects so we don't even notice it. So that also causes issues because typically when we're caffeinated, we kind of feel more energetic, more bouncy. We end up burning more calories than we would have been just non-caffeined, okay, and generally worked out. So if I just sit at my table and doing nothing, but then all of a sudden I drink caffeine, all of a sudden I start shaking my legs, I start moving my hands, and you start getting energetic, you burn more and more calories. So caffeine actually causes even further caloric burn and usage. So it increases kind of like our resting activity rate. Also, it causes a forced effect of the nervous system responsiveness, meaning it puts our nervous system on alert. So our nervous system is up, it's active, it's like being used and used and used. And then when we train, we kind of like cause stress to the nervous system already. If you already are stressing it with workouts and you stress it with the excess of caffeine, all of a sudden the CNS gets really burned out. The nervous system has trouble kind of recovering and feeling refreshed. And therefore it lowers the recovery abilities for us after training. And over time, we feel overtrained by lesser and lesser and lesser intense workouts. So workouts with lower volume than what we're used to, workouts with lower intensity than what we're used to, seem to all of a sudden beat us up and we can't recover from them. That's an overuse of caffeine, and that's overstress of the body. The caffeine masks that stress. We don't notice it, therefore it accumulates longer than it really should. That leads to accumulation of small acute injuries, body annoyances, and the symptoms and side effects of overtraining. So, fasted workouts, including cardio, not good. Putting caffeine on top of that so we hide the negative effects and get fake energy, doubly not good. So like we said, what should we do? What we should do is to feed ourselves ahead of activity. Now, what if you say, I don't like eating before I work out? Quit being a whiny little baby. There are other ways to get calories in your face. You don't have to eat solid food. You can drink calories. You can drink Gatorade. Okay? Then somebody's like, well, I don't want to pee while I work out. Okay, put some salt in the Gatorade and eat some whole food carbs. Maybe you can eat a bagel. Okay, a couple slices of toast. Eat some carbs, salt the carbs, and still drink something that has sugar in it. Okay, a sugary drink. What happens is you combine the liquid, okay, of the drink, the water-based part of the drink, plus the sodium, plus the whole food carbs. All that processes together to create glycogen, which stores water in the muscles. So therefore, the water isn't floating around in your system, and you don't have to pee it out. So if you salt whole food carbs, and you eat whole food carbs with water or some type of liquid before the workout, and it can be 15, 20, 30 minutes before the workout, that will hold the water within your muscle cells, and you won't feel the need to pee so much. Okay? So if you don't eat whole food, you don't have to. Just drink carbs. Okay? Gatorade, something like that, sugary drink. Then if you say, well, I don't want to pee all the time, then eat whole food carbs, okay? Just really quick, fast digesting whole food carbs, and salt them. Then if you have any kind of bitchy, whiny thing after that, shut up. So probably not going to win anybody on this argument, and I probably need to be a little bit nicer. But I don't care about being nice. I just want you to get the freaking results and feel awesome. And if you get over your whiny little complaints and you start doing the things I'm telling you, putting in a little bit of carbs before you work out, whether it's whole food, salted foods, whether it's Gatorade, whatever, just put calories in your face before you work out. Avoid fats, okay? You don't even really need proteins. Just put carbs in your face. So that's like putting gas in a car. Can't drive a car without gas. So put some carbs in your body. Put some glucose, some sugar, some things that your body can break down and use. And then go be active. Okay? You can still lose fat. Like we said, just underestimate your calories. Only eat about 80% of what you think your normal meal should be. But eat the freaking 80% so you don't get all the negative effects. So, then what we can start to do is start to reduce caffeine. Oh my gosh, I think I just lost you. I think I crossed everybody's line right now. What am I talking about? Taking away caffeine. Have I lost my damn mind? Okay? So you don't have to get rid of caffeine, just reduce it. Just try a little bit less, okay? If you're eating before the workout, you probably won't need the caffeine as much as you think you do. Plus, if you get rid of the caffeine, it's going to help you better kind of be in tune with your body. You'll better regulate your workout intensities so that way you can match what's best for your body at that time. You'll be able to recover better between workouts, and over time, you'll actually increase the amount of training you can do. You can actually train more consistently with your body's abilities rather than having crazy psycho periods of time followed by times where you can't recover, you feel overstressed, too many injuries, and you miss training. So everybody tends to go through these big ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. Let's avoid that crap, okay? Get a little bit more in touch with our body. Pay attention to what's going on. And then you can kind of train more consistently, but better over the long term, okay? Now, when I tell people to reduce caffeine, they typically say, but I'm tired, okay? Well, get better sleep. Get a better diet. Get a better mindset. Toughen up, okay, Cupcake? Toughen up a little bit. If you're tired, fix your sleep. Podcast 376, titled Improving Sleep Quality, will help you get better quality out of the sleep hours you already have. I'm not telling you to sleep 10 hours a night, okay? Just get better sleep out of the sleep you already have. Podcast 376 talks about that. When we say get a better diet, find out how many calories you need so you can figure out what 80% of that is. That's podcast 153, titled How Many Calories Do I Need? Also, check out podcast 249, which is meal timing, and 329, which is meal frequency effects on diets, to understand why it's important to eat before you move. And if you need to be called out on a better mindset, If you need to toughen up a little bit, quit being a whiny little baby, go listen to podcast 552 titled Call Yourself Out. So, that's the information. That's why we shouldn't do fasted workouts. That's why we should not caffeine fuel fasted workouts. Hopefully this was helpful and somewhat entertaining as I insulted you. So I more so just wanted to get the information across in a fun way, and I'm kind of in a goofy mood right now. So hopefully I didn't offend anybody. If I did, you can email me and tell me to go screw myself, or email us brutalironjim@gmail.com. Okay? But hopefully this helped kind of explain why it's important that we do fuel ourselves before activity. Even if you want fat loss, just control how much you fuel yourself. Make sure it's a controlled deficit. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing. You don't have to eat nothing to lose body fat. You're just going to feel like crap. Okay? And it's going to lead to yo-yo dieting, huge cravings, and just more negativity in your life than what you really want. So hopefully this was helpful. Now, your homework is eat food before you freaking work out. Okay? Whether it's liquid, let me see real quick. I think we have a pre-workout podcast I actually might have just recently made. So what we want to do, let me see here. Pre-workout, crap, I can't find it real quick. So I'm going to keep yapping quietly and still kind of look for it. But nutrient usage around workouts. There we go. Podcast 610. It's like 4 podcasts ago. So nutrient usage around workouts. That talks about what you should eat going into the workout depending on how far ahead of the workout you were eating. Whether it's 90 minutes, 60 minutes, 30 minutes, 5 minutes. So go listen to podcast 610, nutrient usage around workouts. So eat before you work out. Fuel before the activity. Even if you want fat loss, just fuel 80%. Okay? The next thing I want you to do for your homework is start to reduce your caffeine. I did not say get rid of it. Calm down. Just reduce it. Just use a little bit less. I'm pretty sure you'll survive. Okay? Cool. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully it gave you some information that you can put to use right now. And hopefully you'll believe me on it and actually try to use it. So if you do want any help with dieting programming, of course we're happy to do that. That is part of how we pay for our bills and keep ourselves in business. So if you want some help with programming, like a one-off program, we'll do that for whatever kind of place you find yourself in today. And we'll help you towards whatever your goals are now. But we also offer diet templates that will help you learn how to eat based on your lifestyle and your goals, that you can actually use these templates for like years. So I've had people using templates for 2, 3, 4 years now, and they just adjust it based on kind of the structures of the diet. They can adjust them on their own based on whatever the goals are. So there are options for a diet template that you can use for the rest of your life. And then we also do one-off programs where we just tell you everything you got to eat. We can either do lifestyle management ones where you kind of get to choose options, or we can tell you exactly what to eat every meal. So if you're interested in any kind of help whatsoever, you can email us at brutalironjim@gmail.com, or you can check out our website, www.brutalironjim.com. Okay, I hope this was helpful for the person who requested this topic. I hope I answered what you needed. If I did not, please email me again and with any specific questions, and I promise, I'll get the answer back to you. Great. Now, if you think this podcast was useful, if you think it has some kind of benefit, please share it. Whether it's on social media, whether it's in emails, text messages, whatever you got to do, just the more you share this type of information, the more we can get good information into people's heads, and they can start doing the stuff that allows them to live not only a life where they're productive towards their goals, but they're actually freaking happy while they're going there. Okay? So please share this podcast if you think it's helpful. Also, if you like this type of information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Brutal Iron Gym. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, so like the person who asked for this podcast, please let us know. You can reach out to us on our social media channels, or you can email us at brutalironjim@gmail.com. We even have a way you can send us an email on our website, okay, brutalironjim.com. So just please get in touch with us. We want the podcast to be for you. So we want to know what you want to learn about. Just tell us and we'll make the podcast. Cool. Okay, as always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.